Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday to all of you, and welcome back to the UpSet podcast. We're so happy that you joined us on this very special Father's Day. And when I say we're, I'm talking about the UpSet crew, and here they are. Hey, guys.
Hey,
Happy
hello
Father's
there.
Day.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
Father's
Thank
Day.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Father's
Thank you very much.
Day.
Yes,
Of
indeed.
course, because this is Father's Day, we're going to be talking about Father's Day. But as we're leading into this, and anything else exciting, I'm laughing. Anything else exciting happening this week that
Well, this past week, yeah, there's some things, but I wanted to talk about what happened on this past Thursday, but I don't think that people are quite ready to hear that right now.
yeah. I got you. You know,
But you know what it is.
Yes, I know
Yeah.
exactly.
Let me tell you what it is. The gas prices.
Yeah,
Way too high.
way too high.
Way too high.
Yeah, when I see that 5, I know. Whew.
Makes you want to eat a can of beans and just wait a while.
It does make you second guess going places. I don't know about you guys. So I think,
Yeah.
and I'm like, do I really
Is this
need to
trip
go?
necessary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely think that's ain't not doing that.
Right. Or you bundle things. Okay, if I go here, then I'm gonna go there, and then you don't go anywhere for the rest of the week.
Right.
That's kinda,
Which is really what we should be doing normally.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, absolutely.
in fact, just walk to the 7-Eleven.
Pull out bikes with baskets. That's what you
There
do.
you
Put a
go.
basket and go
That's
buy
what
groceries.
Father said to his pregnant wife, he said, now, are you really sure that your water broke?
We're not making this trip for nothing. Oh, our sad reality, boy.
Jesus be a Tesla.
I know. Listen, I'm really considering that right now. I'm on this election. I know this is
hilarious.
But guys, we hope you're out there enjoying your Father's Day, whether you're celebrating a father in your life or you are a father. We hope that as you're watching this, we're happy that you thought of us to be part of this special day. We're really honored that you're spending part of your Father's Day or watching this back from the UpSet podcast. And we always want to start off by acknowledging the fathers who are part of our crew. We see those 4 gentlemen there. Pat, you're a father of
3.
That
All
we
right.
know.
Oh,
That
nice.
That we know.
If
Yeah.
they tell you otherwise, I need to see the paperwork.
All right,
Wait
Tally.
a minute. There's a call from Maury Povich for Pat Graham.
Pat, your prayer isn't being answered. It's not being answered.
Yeah.
I'm a father of one daughter, and that has its own adventures, and several goddaughters who are just. I have the most beautiful godchildren that you ever want to imagine, and
Nice.
one
Do you know
and
all
one
their
daughter.
names?
Yes.
Okay.
And their
That's
birthdays,
always-
because that's
Names and their birthdays.
Okay.
Yeah.
right. You better know
You're
those
good. You're
birthdays
good,
and
man.
Christmas. Those are 2 most important days. Those godchildren.
I've got some good goddaughters, I'm telling you.
All right, GP.
Yeah, I'm the proud father of Elizabeth Grace. She is 13 months old, and maybe she'll have a sibling in the future, but as of now, it's just Elizabeth. So
Oh, how nice.
She visits us from time to time. She's our honorary.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, call from Jackie.
Breaking news? Do we have breaking news? All right, and Charles?
Father of 3 sons.
Nice.
One of the original my 3 sons. Yes, I'm not a Fred McMurray, but yeah, right. 3 great guys.
They really
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
3 great guys.
Yeah.
I'm just
I was
blessed.
with one of them yesterday. Yep.
They all
I've had the
touch-
privilege of seeing all 3 of them grow up from lads, and they are really just exemplary young men. Charles, you make me regret not having sons.
I always wanted a daughter, but I didn't.
How much money you got?
But I wasn't willing to try again.
mercy.
But I have some beautiful granddaughters. They're just
Yeah.
Granddaughters are better than daughters.
Yeah, you can spoil them and send them away.
You
I
care to
bet they
unpack
are.
that?
Spoil
They
and send
are.
away.
You can give them back.
Yeah.
You can give them
Let's
back.
draw that
Give 'em
drama,
back,
right?
yeah.
I get it. I get it. All right, guys. So I want to throw out some interesting stats regarding fathers and kind of see what you guys think about them, or if these surprise you at all. Did you know that almost half the men in the US are fathers, and more of those fathers are staying home with kids? Does that sound about right?
Is this
Mhm.
are you talking, is this black or is this general?
This is American men, about 46%. So it's in general, it's all inclusive. 46% of American men ages 18 and older are fathers. And according to the census, there are 72 million fathers in the United States, and that's out of 152 million men. So, um, do you guys feel like half the men in your life are fathers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Now, what about the part about staying home with the kids? More and more fathers are staying home with the kids. That was something that was kind of unheard
Well, that's
of.
because gas prices are too high. They can't go nowhere.
And we ain't going nowhere unless we have to.
And maybe that's too
Oh.
with our last episode, people are learning other ways to make money, and so they know they don't
Yeah.
have to go to the office.
Right. Sometimes the woman has a career path that's maybe, more
Right.
financially, sustainable and stuff. All right. This is one I thought was true, but I've heard otherwise. And that is that dads don't really want ties for Father's Day. Is that true? Guys, tell us.
We never wanted
Well,
ties for Father's Day.
Yeah.
We don't want them.
I
in
mean, I
yesterday.
stopped wearing ties about 15 years ago. I don't wear ties ever.
And women have the worst taste in ties. I mean,
I think we have good
looks like-
taste.
that's the problem. Y'all really feel good about what y'all
Pretty
pick out.
ties.
I mean, you pick out these things that look like a convoluted cobra, and you expect us to wrap it around our necks and
Wait
wear
a
it
minute. How
proudly.
many women dress their husbands?
Listen, I've gotten some good ties. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoken like
buy
a young,
beautiful
spoken like a
ties for
young
my
husband
dad.
who still wants to have a happy marriage.
I used to
let me
buy
tell you.
beautiful ties for my dad.
Yeah.
You can only say that because he's not here to represent the real truth about it.
They were
You guys
nice
buy
ties.
women buy ties the way they would buy a dress, and they said this will go well with my dress. This chartreuse and lime,
No, I didn't do anything like that.
zebra striped tie. It would look good, and then you buy that for us, and then we got that thing wrapped around our neck on Father, or God forbid, the children pick it.
That's
sweet.
that's
And
So
then
you got a tie
sweet.
now with a bunch of popsicles on it that you got to wear to church.
Sweet, yes.
Wear with
You-
pride.
you-
Wear with pride.
Yeah, you're in a board meeting trying to fire somebody wearing dinosaurs on your neck. That's just, it doesn't work.
In fact, this stat says that only 19% of dads want any clothing or apparel for Father's Day. So that's really not big on the top of the list for fathers. And 64% of dads said that they didn't want anything with the words "world's best dad" on it. So,
Oh,
We know y'all lying. We know y'all are lying.
not true. What other dad do we compare you to?
So, that's my point. You don't. So of
Well,
course
you
I'm
know,
world's best if I'm world's only.
There you go.
Lord help me, please.
No, that's better.
Well, in my little research on this, I came across a paper that said that there was controversy earlier on with Father's Day. In fact, one historian writes that men scoffed at the holiday's sentimental attempts to domesticate manliness with flowers and gift giving.
Wow.
And they derided the proliferation of such holidays as a commercial gimmick to sell more products.
Yeah, but they still take those gifts. I know.
Give me
that.
the goodies, yeah.
Oh, wait, let me finish.
They got
Let
over
me finish
it.
the sentence. The sentence often paid for by the father himself. That was
Well, no,
the
that's
Yeah,
the
because they're
problem.
spending their money.
That's
to
the
get-
problem.
Oh,
Yeah, they've
okay.
got to pay for it.
But no, I was looking at that, that men, fathers, typically spend more on products if they're better quality. And I can say that that's true for my husband.
Yeah.
you guys tend to like buy the quality stuff that maybe we would be a little bit more frugal with, but you're like, hey, I'll dish out a couple of $100 if I really like it. Are you
Yeah,
guys
the
like that?
kids the cheap stuff, and you guys the
Yeah.
nice stuff.
Well, I mean, now that I'm older, I am more than willing to spend my children's inheritance. I mean, on like, you want the good stuff, because especially you figure I got 5 more days to use it. I want it to be really good. And yeah, so
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
cheap is expensive. So if you gotta buy something that's quality, it'll last a long time. So it's worth the investment.
True that.
So that's a good tip for people who want to buy Father's Day gifts. Sometimes it's better to spend a little bit more and get the quality than just getting something that says world's best dad that won't be used or not of much value. All right. So I want to ask our fathers here. They said most dads identify as one of the three: the outdoors type, a tech dad, or the home organizer. Do you guys fit that?
Yeah.
I know.
Outdoors type just means you're homeless.
Oh gosh.
I know Charles is
Oh
a
my
tech
gosh.
dad. Come on. He's a tech dad.
That's a given.
Yeah.
But our young guys here too. Does
Yeah.
anybody like fishing? Do you guys like fishing, or what
When
y'all
I was
doing?
younger, I
Oh,
did.
sports.
Did.
Do football outside.
Yeah, but
Hiking,
I have no one to do it with, so
Oh.
I would rather be home with my family. And so I'm a tech dad, and I'm also the slave dad. My wife is the organizer, so I just do whatever she says.
Okay.
That's
Man,
how you be
Kiki.
married for 50 years. That's right, buddy. That's good.
That's it.
All right. For Father's Day, because this is something that I always debated. Like, what do you do on Father's Day? Do dads want to hang out with you on Father's Day? According to this statistic, dads do want to hang out for Father's Day, but if you can't be there, they'll take the money. Is that
Hang out with their families or with other
Yes,
men,
yes.
other fathers?
with their family? Like they want to hang out with their children on Father's Day. Is that
That's after you're old,
Okay.
When you're sitting there listening to your arteries harden and your prostate is turning into concrete.
Is that
Then
is
you
that
want to hang
loud?
around with your children. Yeah, the romance of it is good,
Concrete.
but not when
Oh,
you're
my
young.
Because I think oftentimes a lot of fathers lack community, and a lot of us are lonely. And so I think it could be a time for fathers to get together and go top golfing or do something, unique. Because
Is that because a lot of fathers want to stay home all the time? Is that why they're lonely?
not necessarily. I think men have a hard time, maybe just me, but I find that men have a harder time making friends and forming deeper bonds because a lot of times we're just kind of just operating on the surface and just living life.
And this is why men's ministries, I know we're talking about Father's Day, but men's ministries kind of tight. That's why these are so important in our churches. These are some of the ministries I'm seeing kind of fall off. There's nothing really facilitated by the church where men come together. I mean, sometimes they serve Mother's Day dinner together or something, but we don't really see a lot of opportunities in the church for men to have social interaction and learn from each other. And all
Mentorship
that
too.
good stuff. Yeah, mentorship. That's a big one. And as a matter of fact, I was reading another statistic that talked about the fact that men tend to use social media more once they become fathers, and that the reason they're doing that is to get get tips about fatherhood, and as you were saying, build community. So, that's interesting. I don't know. Did you
Very
guys see it?
interesting.
Well, maybe more so GP. but
Yeah, because
social
I
media.
mean, I like to learn as much as I can about fatherhood, and so aside from talking to people who are wiser and older than me, the other thing I can do is pick up books or read articles and learn that way. So yeah.
All right, so that brings me to another question for you. I mean, this is not an interview, but I'm intrigued by this. What are some of the best father's tips that you have received or that you remember receiving when you became a father? Anything that stands out?
Yeah, some of the best advice I got was your calling is to serve and protect your family.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
that's the one thing that stuck with me. Aside from all
I'm
the
surprised Patrick didn't have any music to go with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah,
you'll have a lot of fun, but at the end of the day, your job is to protect them and serve them. And so, protect them spiritually, physically, emotionally.
Yeah, that's nice.
I like that.
Is there something wrong with your hand, Nick?
No, I'm just loving it, Charles. I mean, Elizabeth Grace is what, 2 years? She's 2 now, right?
13 months. Oh, my answer's gonna change.
No,
I
as long
want
as
to, 12 and a half years from now, when your daughter is visited by the invasion of the body snatchers.
Mercy.
And the child, that sweet little girl who used to look at you with adoration and reverence begins to look at you like you are the village idiot. and that the sweet little baby girl is replaced by a surly teenage girl.
Mercy.
That's why he
No,
needs to
that won't
protect
happen.
her.
yeah,
Yeah.
That
the
won't
role
happen.
is still going to be the same. Still applicable.
What'd you say, Charles?
That won't happen to GP.
No, says the guy with 3 sons.
Right.
Yeah, that won't.
Never happened. Never.
So Tally, what
That is
advice
real
did you
quiet
get
right now.
this?
He's real
I
quiet.
know, right? I'm like,
Be prepared for 13, 14. That
oh,
year
they told you
when
that ahead of time. It's
no,
longer
nobody told me
fair-
that at the time.
Oh, you
Nobody.
did.
And I was a parenting educator. When I first retired back in 1995, I went to work as a parenting educator and radio. And so I taught parents, and I figured that if you just did all the right things, comb your hair right, eat a few chocolates, that everything, that every day would waken with harps playing and daisies blooming. And, I had my daughter, I remember when she turned 14, it was like you went in there and you needed a crucifix and holy water. Like, who are you and why are you in my room? Come out of it. Come out.
Oh, mercy.
Look, you ladies know that at the age of 14, daughters become y'all become strange.
I never experienced that.
I
So
don't
can't-
remember doing that at 14.
and I'm
15.
hoping that doesn't.
Did either of your noses grow when you just said those two things?
I don't
My
remember
story,
that
you
at
stick it to it.
14.
My story. Pat,
Huh?
There's
what,
some
I mean,
li-
you have
There's
your
some
dad.
lies
I
in
mean,
this
did your
house.
dad
There's
tell
some
you?
lies in this house.
Oh no.
Were you the first? Were
I
you the
look-
first child to become a father in your family?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so you
Mhm.
got all the good
And-
stuff.
Yeah,
and
we're
I-
kind of precocious.
you know,
What was that like when you were 15?
God, we got jokes.
He
nothing
says,
like
leave
now.
my bones alone. Leave my bones in the closet. Leave them alone.
I don't know. I think the biggest encouragement, I heard what GP said. Yeah, I don't even know if I got any big encouragement, but to stay on a budget or something like that. But
Be
but I
smart.
know this, that to be there for each one of my children being born, I understood the concept of how God feels about us.
Mhm.
I don't want to be like this, but my wife could walk out the door tomorrow, but my kids will always be mine. And
That's true.
And
That's
so it's like while you all were talking about it, honestly, I went way back. I can't remember any gifts that I really had that I could really say, okay, this was a Father's Day gift. And maybe because I'm not a day person, I'm not even for my birthday. It's I'm not that type of person. So I guess my wife kind of taught them that Father's Day is almost like all the time instead of one day. So I don't really remember receiving any gifts from them that I could say, okay, I can remember that. That's why when you said that about the tie,
You're like, did I get one?
I can't remember getting a tie.
Are you
because-
traumatized? Are
Okay.
you?
No, ties don't really,
He likes the shoes, the holy shoes.
the Holy Spirit. Right.
Oh,
That's probably
I
what
was
it
waiting
is.
for it.
That's probably what it is. But here's the funny thing, though. My children are all home this week, and there's a
Oh.
sense of gratitude with them being here. And I
Yeah.
always get this thing of trying to go back and what would I change for them to be different or whatever the case is. So I think this Father's Day coming up, I'd like to spend some time thinking about being grateful for them,
Mhm.
and y'all talking about daughters. last night was, I laid down. My daughter, she lives in Florida. She's here, and she laid down next to me, and I said, "Hey, tell me about that last guy that you dated," and we talked for about an hour and a half,
Wow.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
That's
and
important.
so when you don't see me, you know that I got locked up.
Again, right?
Right. But
They call that good trouble, Pat.
yeah,
You
good,
okay?
good
Good
trouble,
trouble.
good trouble. It's a gift to be a dad.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not focusing on the things. I think Nick said it, or somebody said it. I'm grateful for the little time that they have, except for the Cash App. Otherwise than that, I'm happy
Let's
for it.
change things.
Happy for it.
Yeah. Speaking of fatherhood, I have a fatherly duty to do now, so I got to run. But you all have a wonderful rest of the conversation. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Hey,
All
man.
right.
All right.
Thanks.
Oh,
Happy
you
Father's Day,
gotta.
my friend.
You need to figure out your priorities. What's more important, to us or your child?
My family.
As we celebrate Father's Day, right?
'Cause I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah, good stuff.
And that was not scripted.
That's It'll be funny. We all gonna go around, and one's gonna go out. Okay, I gotta go too. Bye. And
Yes.
honestly, GP is the closest to me that I have seen that have had a baby this quick. I mean, closest to, not this quick.
Let's rephrase that.
Yeah. And I kind of like the way he's
You're
he's
dedicated.
googly gaga over this
Oh
child.
yeah, he adores her. You can
Very
see it.
dedicated. That's
Yeah, and we
beautiful.
feel like we've watched his journey because we were giving him advice last year before Libby was born whatever.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
shoot.
Before she was born, we were giving
Look,
him
I mean, I performed his wedding when Grace was just a
see?
gleam in his eye.
You're right.
Wow.
And
Wow.
But
look, I mean, stuff
yeah,
right
it
next
So
door.
nice.
But let me
being
also say this, guys. My dad, about 4 or 5 years ago, we moved him here closer to us, my brother and I. And it's strange watching him get older.
Yeah.
It's a
That's the
strange.
tough part.
Yeah, it's hard to watch him
Yeah.
get older. Now he's legally blind, and when I say that, but he still has the same vigor and boom in his voice, even in that old age. They told me to come over to the house. The basement was a little flooded on one side. I go in there and I say, "Hey, mom and dad, the sump pump failed, so we're gonna have to get somebody in." My father was like, "It didn't fail. It didn't fail." I'm here 50 something years old. I wanted to go to him and said, "It's failed. It's done." This man can't even find me if I ran around him. And the deep respect, I said, "Okay, Dad, we will just wait till the professional comes in." Like our last show. Plumber, I've come to fix the sink, and let him come in and do whatever has to be done. I'm saying the respect value of it. I'm glad to have him around. And the worst part of it is to think about, him being in his final days,
Yeah.
Yeah.
even if it's years. Even if it's final years.
True
So,
that.
so there's a burn for me. My brothers and I would never get together and say, "What are we gonna get Dad for Father's Day?" We never really say that. Mom, you got to think, because she gonna make. What am I gonna do with this? But my dad, my dad is one that if we're there together, and I think the three of us probably got that from him. If we all three will be with him during Father's Day, that's all.
That's the gift.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, when your father was 50, did he want all three of you hanging around then?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean,
Oh, that's interesting.
it's as you get older, children take on a different luster.
The important things become important.
No, it's not that they're important in the other times. It's just that they are. When you're older, you kind of you're reminiscing. When they're around, it allows you to return to a time when you were more potent and viable, and and that's why we love grandchildren, because besides the fact that we can give them back. I mean, it
That's true.
it gives you the
when your little
opportunity.
ones were running
Yeah,
around.
And it's a wonderful experience when, you know, the little rug rats are ankle biters and running around you and all that kind of stuff. And then it's okay, now go home now. Love you. Bye. Get on down the road there. Go play out in the highway, you know.
In the highway.
And I mean, so it's a little different then.
I don't. I remember I didn't buy. I remember Father's Day. I think I might have been 7 years old. I made a helicopter for my dad. As a little, it looked like a helicopter. And I made for my dad, and you wind it up, and it, flips. And I don't know what I made it out of. And I could remember, we moved from one house to the other, and he would always keep it on the top piece.
Oh, that's nice.
And when we moved, he couldn't find it. And he looked around. And we're talking about years later, he'll always keep it on the top. Those are the type of things that again, I don't know why in our family. I think if you call Paul or Gary, my brothers, and you ask them the same thing, it was always Father's Day was always something more sentimental, more than it was gifts or something. We didn't go to the baseball games. We didn't buy my dad ties either. I was gonna say something. Caribbeans like certain kind of ties that we couldn't hit them.
More interested in that.
But nah, he wasn't interested in all of that. But I think one time we bought him sneakers or gym shoes, or whichever way you call it. I don't know if I gave my dad something right now, he wouldn't cherish it as much as if we sat down and watched Judge Judy for 2 hours straight.
There's the time, the value changes. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the role. And I know GP kind of alluded to this when he was talking about the tip he received was just to be the provider. We're kind of in a society where even when we were honoring moms, we're talking about the single mom who's doing it all and, carrying the weight. And some people would have you believe sometimes, they don't need a father as long as they have one loving parent. I've heard people say that kind of like, I don't need a but yet there's so many statistics and things out there that show the role a father plays in a child's development. And I want us to kind of talk a little bit about that. And this can be from personal experience or just what you've read or heard. What do you think? What impact does the father's specific role in a child's life have, specifically, that may be different than what the mother provides?
It's funny, the concept of gender and whether genders have limited roles. In other words, women do this and men do that. But it is clear that God created humanity as a kind of a multi-platform, varied entity. Male and female created he them.
Right.
And so the man in the life of a child is supposed to play a certain role that sort of is complementary to what the woman provides. And the absence of that doesn't mean that the child goes without. It simply means that the child looks for it elsewhere. Sometimes they find it in healthy places, sometimes not so healthy places. We got hundreds of thousands of men in jail right now because they found male role models in unhealthy places and they decided to replicate them. Then there are others who find male role models in healthier places and they replicate that. But for me, my father was a wonderfully humorous, good-hearted. My father was one of the funniest people I ever met. And we would have absolutely starved to death if he was in control because my mother was in control. But my father was the heart and soul of the family. My mother was the structure and the custodial and law enforcement arm of the family. Hey, Charles, you remember in the old days you watch a television show and the white mother would say to her kids, "You wait till your father gets home."
Right, exactly.
And we're like, in the black neighborhood, it was like, "Hey, please send my father home. This woman about to kill me. Somebody come rescue me from this woman." So yeah. But my dad was just, that was who he was.
People often say, and I'll give you guys a chance to respond too, but that at infant stage is just this bond between mother and child, but they're showing that if the father is present, when the infant is born, that infant
Mhm.
has just the same connection to the father as it does the mother. So sometimes we try to say,
Mm.
"Oh, that's the baby mother." That's just almost innate. I mean, that they're attached to the father as long as the father is there as well. And the father's connection to the child really helps in the child's development. I don't know how many of you see
Yeah.
this thing that when the child is born, the father they have now the
Mhm.
father's kind
Mhm.
of shirtless, feeling skin on skin,
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
Right.
child to help
Right.
build that instant connection. I always think that's beautiful to see. But yeah, what are some other things that you guys have heard about that father involvement
Well,
does
I
in
can
terms of child
I
development?
can share as a daughter. My dad, it was always that feeling of protection, you know. I can't say I was a daddy's girl, and um Nick was right. My mom was tough on me, but dad, I could always get over on him. I remember one time, but my mom would correct us physically, but there were times she'd say, I guess she was tired. She said, when your dad get home, you're gonna get it. And I would cry from that moment all day long because even though I could get over on my dad and get out of it, my mom would say, William, I've been here with her all day. You better get her, you know. And so I would lose the
Gave the
fight,
marching
but
orders.
my dad would have tears in his eyes, and I would beg like someone who hadn't had food in months. Please, Jesus, have mercy. Please, dad. And sometimes my dad would just laugh and he would let me get away with it. But my dad was also very funny, very happy, just a very charming man. And
Mm.
so it's really important to have both family members. I know some circumstances it is just not there, but when it is, and it's a healthy relationship, I mean, we're all dysfunctional, but as healthy as it can be, you know,
Hmm.
it's just good to have the father there, especially for, I mean, they say for the boys, but especially for us girls too. We
Oh
need to
Mhm,
yeah.
see a
mhm.
good, loving father. And so I thank God for
Self-esteem.
giving me that experience.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Gary, my brothers and I, we've talked about one thing. I don't know. We have never heard our father speak negative against someone.
Wow.
Mm.
That's real
Never,
nice. Mm.
never heard.
Mm.
Never heard him at all say anything negative about people. Um, Never heard it. I think what's strange about this
Nice.
conversation that we have, which is also beautiful, is that it's easier when we talked about mothers, we never mentioned fathers. But here we talk about fathers, we are talking, we're mentioning mothers with fathers. And I
Hmm.
think it's beautiful, not to say, not to say,
The cat.
You all right there?
hold
You
on.
need to go to the doctor for that,
Is that a
Pastor.
mother cat?
Cat got your tongue?
Did you
Literally?
see the
Something's
cat?
wrong
Did
about
you see
that.
that? You didn't see
Oh
it.
my
No,
No, we
no.
just saw your reaction.
God.
It literally jumped over my head, and now
Wow.
sitting right here. I, I like the fact that when we talk about our fathers, we also talk about the full family. You know, so
Mm.
whether it's positive, whether it's negative, there is a role that's played. You know, our our religious background came from my father.
Hmm.
Mm.
You know, he was the one that called worship. My mother didn't call
Mm.
worship. My dad called worship,
A real priest in the home.
and
Hmm.
yeah, right, right. Let me tell you this. He played the priest up until the point where he said, I'm not a priest anymore. You three are now priests. So you do
Mhm.
whatever it is that you need to do or have to do. Even now that we're online, my dad listens to all of our sermons and he critiques them to the point that one day my dad said, I noticed that you all keep talking about me in your sermons. And,
He
uh,
wants royalties.
Exactly.
Chuck, I knew Chuck would come up with something media type to be like, okay. But here's what he said. He said, I didn't know I had that much of an impact
Wow. That's beautiful.
Oh,
on your
That is
lives,
yeah.
beautiful.
to the point that he's even apologized for something.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Oh.
So there's the positive end, because we always believed he wanted to be a preacher. When we went to Oakwood, hold on to your hats. People said, the way y'all behave, is your dad? Is your dad a pastor?
Wow.
Really, people thought, and then of course they're grands from Chicago and pastors from Chicago, from California. So people thought we were all related.
Yeah.
But my dad, he's the type that he'll say, no, he did. I said, I'm sorry. And he called us together to tell, hey, I'm sorry for the way I disciplined you. I'm sorry for the way, the how I disciplined you, and so forth. And, we all really had to turn around and say, Dad, if you did not do what you had to do back then, my God, where would we be? Where would we be right now? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think I think we have to rub off on our children, and we're gonna rub off some good stuff and some bad stuff, which is sad to say. But on the other end of it, I go back to this again, the gratefulness of just having here. I'm having a problem now that they're gonna leave at the end of the week, except for Job,
Yeah.
at the end of the week. So it's more like, oh man, I don't want them to go. Today I needed to be up at Allegheny East. I don't want to go because they hear, Jasmine is cooking breakfast in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening.
Oh.
I'm like, yo, this is absolutely great. I love it.
Yeah, I was reading this article
Nick,
on the Children's Bureau.
I'm sorry, Tasha, 1 second. Nick,
Yes.
14 and 15.
These really?
Oh yeah, we'll talk about it after.
Okay.
I mean, that is trauma.
Yeah, 14, 15-year-old girls?
We're gonna need to have a show on this because I need you guys to unpack this. I have a 13-year-old, so I feel like I need.
Oh, then you don't need a show. You need another year.
No, that's what she needs. Adderall. That's what she needs.
Yeah, I mean,
No, but I wanted to. There was the statistic I was reading from the Children's Bureau that said that high levels of father's involvement has a direct impact on, obviously, children's social ability, their confidence, their self-control even. And so, of course, whenever we're looking at the reality of all these great things, we look at what happens when the father is not present in the home and children don't have these things that, quote unquote, the father helps provide and strengthen. How do people navigate that? I mean, we hear this phrase, oh, I got daddy issues, and people are using that. Oh, she has daddy issues, she's acting like this, or she has low self-esteem, or she's depressed, or she's trying to get too much attention from her father. And same thing with from boys, or boys are acting out, we point to the fathers. That's the reason why that child may be acting that way. How do we navigate some of the possibly negative experiences people may have due to the fact that they did not have a father in the home? How do we help people navigate that?
I will never forget, I was teaching a class in one of our prisons. It was an ongoing class, so I got to know the guys pretty well. And this guy's name was Mook. That was his name. And he was young. He was only 18 or 19. And everybody in the jail, even the older guys, knew that he was dangerous. And he told me one time, he said, everybody here know what I'll do. And I took that lesson to heart. So whenever Mook raised his hand, I respectfully said, yes, sir. But I raised a question one time about, let's talk about fathers. And Mook said, my father ain't had no part in my life. I ain't got nothing to say about him. He didn't have an impact in my life. He wasn't there. And I said, oh, okay, Mook. I said, I want you to pretend with me that you're going to kindergarten for the first time and your father's there to see you off. How would you feel? I said, what would he do? And he explained what a father should do. I said, how about you are graduating, you're scoring the winning touchdown on your Pop Warner football team, and your father is in the end zone watching you run in there, and you see him looking at you. What would you feel? I said, you're going on your prom now, and your father's adjusting your tie as you go to pick up your girl. I said, you just had your first child, and your father is there to greet his grandson. And I said, now, what do you say to the person who stole all of that from you? And Mook, who was a killer, cried.
He cried.
He cried. He said, because it dawned upon him that in dismissing the presence of his father, he had not thought about what his father took in leaving. And so these are the things that have to be reckoned with. the absence of a father is not simply the absence of presence. It is also the presence of theft. It's what was taken from me, what
Mm.
is missing from me. And
That's
that's something
real.
that people have to wrestle with that. They have to grapple with that and address that.
Mhm. No, you're right. You're right. Because people think, sometimes, especially with single family homes, people think if I just don't talk about it,
Yeah,
we just
yeah,
focus on, oh, you got a great mother, you have but they don't allow the child to maybe process some of the things. We think if we provide them the best life, if we always show them whatever, but there is a loss there, um, that is
yeah.
it's indescribable, especially to those
Yeah,
who
it's
have.
not irreparable. It's, I
Right,
mean, because you
right.
can,
That's you can still
you can go beyond it, but you have to reckon with it. You can't
right,
just, pretend that this doesn't exist, that this absence was not there.
right, right, right. We see that. We see that from time to time. And I think too, kind of that father figure. We talked about this even with the mothers, how sometimes people don't birth children, but
Hmm.
they play that role. And the same thing applies
To
to
fathers,
fathers
yeah.
because there are a lot of times, even within the church structure or other places, where there are a lot of boys who may not have fathers, and this could
Hmm.
be because their
Hmm.
father passed away. This is not because,
Yeah,
the
for all
father
sorts
is
of reasons.
delinquent or
Yeah.
anything like that. And we call upon the men of the church to kind of mentor them because there is still something that whether you birth them or not, that boys and girls get from a male influence that just provides something that's needed. And sometimes people who had those strained relationships with their father may have created it with their grandfather or another respected man in the community. So there are ways of navigating it, even if it doesn't come naturally or biologically in some ways. Uh, to individuals. I mean, I just kind of want to I just hate to feel when people feel defeated if, oh, I didn't have that or, and so I always like want to let people know that even though we sympathize with that, you still have an opportunity to maybe find that in other places or, if possible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to kind of mention, I don't know if anybody else wanted to comment on what we were saying that about the father figures and the importance of that. I know like my dad, love my
Spoiled
dad.
you. Spoiled you.
Yes,
Yes.
he spoiled me.
Oh, right. Oh,
We were pretty close. I think people thought I looked a lot like him, especially as a child, and so I
the
was like
lipstick, the whole thing.
free
Ah.
lipstick.
Yeah.
And so, we often did a lot of things together and, I was a little girl. Now he was the opposite of Charles. He had 3 daughters. So,
Mm. Mm.
you know, yeah, he had 3
And he
daughters.
survived.
Yes, he
The
survived.
disciples asked when he walked by, now who did sin, this man or his parents?
And I was
Oh
supposed to be
my
the boy.
goodness.
That's the thing. I was the baby. So they
Oh.
just knew I was gonna be the boy, and I ended up being, the third girl. But I always felt like
Oh, you're
I
the
felt
baby also?
I'm the baby. I'm the baby girl.
Shit.
I felt like
Hey, she had to let you know, right? Yeah.
I'm the baby.
And she's like, I'm the
Nah, yeah, yeah, and he still calls me baby, baby girl.
Oh
So
gosh.
I often felt though like, oh, I wish my dad had a boy. Like for him, like I felt sorry.
Yeah.
Not sorry, but I felt like, man, I was supposed to be the boy and I was a girl.
And then
So
didn't even give him male grandchildren.
I know, right? But
Go back to the
my
well.
other sisters did. Well, I gave him a son-in-law. See? Yeah, I did my
Yeah,
part.
there you go.
Somebody who
My
stole
sisters
his
have
baby girl from him.
exactly. But he does have 2 grandsons now from my
Oh,
sisters.
good, good.
But I still saw my dad taking it upon himself to mentor young men
Hmm.
in our church who did not have that. And I always respected that because one, I felt like it was almost good for him to be able to mentor a young male. But also I saw that impact of his role in their lives on them. Even as a child, I could see that, and I often said to myself, I hope I can be that for somebody, one day if
Yeah.
who's in need,
And
and
a good male mentor.
no, no, female mentor, but to be
Oh,
able to say, even though I have my own children, that doesn't mean that I still can't kind of play a role in another child's life that they may feel like they're
Yeah.
missing, or
Mhm.
fulfilling some of those gaps, if you will.
hmm.
It's just something I was thinking about. And I do want to, since I mentioned my dad, I do want to shout him out. My dad, Fred Betts, thank you for being a great father.
It's all your fault. All that we have,
Thank you.
the fact that she lords it over us, is all because of what you did.
Mhm.
Yeah, no. But
You
and
know,
I mentioned it, fathers having a great deal to do with particularly females, or their daughters' self-esteem. I realize that more than ever. I think a
Mhm.
lot of any confidence that I have came from my dad. My dad always encouraged me. He always helped me. Like, when I had to do like my first speaking thing in church, I remember he went over everything with me. He told me when to slow down. He told me when I
Mm.
was mumbling my words. He took the time with me, and he celebrated, or celebrates. I'm saying this in the past tense, but he celebrates things things that I do even now. And so, I just want to, give a shout out to Fred Betts, my dad. Appreciate you. Love you.
this is,
She's
Amen.
waiting for that
Amen.
check to come. That's why she keeps saying that.
no,
Send that
it's
check. Send that check.
my dad. My dad finished 8th grade. He was very intelligent, very creative, but he was not very industrious and he was not very ambitious. He was what he was, but he was an absolute joy to be around. He was funny. He was compassionate and kind-hearted. He was an absolute man, but he was a much better cook than my mother,
Hmm.
Oh,
and
really?
Okay.
much better cook than my mother. I mean, my father was a great
Mm.
cook, and
Did your mother agree with that?
yes, absolutely.
Mm.
She
Said,
knew
"Please
she
cook."
knew it. I mean, she let your dad cook, but
Mm.
not only that, but my mother. Growing up, my mother never said to me, or I think any of the kids, that she loved us. Never. And my
Mm.
father always did, but my mother had been an orphan. She grew up in an
Mm.
extremely cruel situation. After we were
Mm.
adults, and my mom could embrace and address some of the things, we would talk every day, literally, and we would, in every phone call, with "I love you, mom, love you, son," but not as kids, because she didn't get that. But my father was the most loving and kind-hearted. But he would have we would have gotten away with murder. If
Mm.
Sheriff
Mm.
May wasn't in the house, I'd be in jail now, without question. And so, but my father played the role in the house, and he retired early, and so he was always home. And my father died when I was 17. I never forget. I
Mm.
just turned 17, and he said, "Well, I don't have any little boys anymore. I always prayed that God would let me see my boys become men, and now you're all grown up now." And I remember him saying that.
Mm.
I said, "Oh no, Dad, I'm always your little boy." And 2 weeks later, he woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, said, "I can't breathe," and at 2:30, he was dead. And
Wow.
Mm.
and I never will
Mm.
forget that moment when I realized that I was alone in the world, and
Yeah.
I carry that with me. But man, he was fun to be around. That guy was so
Mhm.
He
funny,
sounds a lot like
gregarious,
you.
outgoing.
Yeah.
Nothing like me.
Mm.
Talkative,
Oh,
not
yeah, right.
quiet and reserved, and sober
Mhm.
minded like me at all.
Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Oh boy.
All right.
Mm-mm-mm.
Well, we want to kind of wrap up. We want to
Yeah,
make
we
sure
have
you
to.
get as much time to spend with the fathers. We heard that time at
Yes.
certain stages is what
This
fathers
Sunday,
enjoy.
we're busy this Sunday. Yeah.
But I know I asked you guys the tips that you received, and I want us to get in on this, Marlena, in terms of even telling fathers something maybe from a daughter's perspective, or, let's share something with our fathers to maybe encourage them, or something that you've learned in your journey, that may be able to help someone else.
Well, I know I was speaking that as us daughters, we look to the dad for protection. And I remember my dad, you guys know my history of I got married in my early 20s, and
Mhm.
and I was a victim of domestic violence, and my dad wanted to kill him,
Mhm.
and my ex-husband should be very thankful because I saved his life, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But my dad's love for me was so great. And I mean, I even, just thank him for that today. My dad died in 2020, but um, he, his girls, we were just his heart. And so that's one thing we look for. And I know you guys are the same because you've shared that if you had a daughter, and they somebody was hurting them, you take care of that the perpetrator, right?
Mhm.
And so for us girls, I mean, it's just a wonderful feeling. I sorrow for those who don't have, someone to protect them like that. But that was a real joy and a blessing. And like I said, my dad was just always happy and funny, and I remember his laughter to this day. He was always the life of the party. That's just
Mhm.
how he was. And my mom was pretty happy too. And so I just feel very, very blessed. Now that I feel I'm an orphan now. Both my parents are
Hmm.
Wow.
gone.
Yeah.
But just that joy of them being with us. And I'll just share this because y'all know I can talk a lot. But I remember my parents divorced after 30 years, and
Oh.
my dad remarried. But when he was married to my mom, he was not a Christian. And
Hmm.
so when he married my stepmom, he became a Christian. And, that's the time to be so happy. I was mad, fired mad because he didn't
I
become a
get it.
Christian with
Yeah.
my mom, because they
Right.
would have
Right.
still
Exactly.
been married, and we'd have
Mm.
still been, close. And so, but
Mm.
I accepted, Jesus, like, what do you want? You want to be saved? And
Right.
so, so our
So
relationship remained the same. But my dad would always, he would come by our church on Sabbath. He's like, man, I miss you guys. I miss, because he become a Christian then, and he received well all of his mistakes and things. Like, man, if I had just known to do what was right then, we still
Yeah.
be together. And so that was so special to me that my dad wanted to still be with us. But anyway, those are the joys that I remember. And look, he and my mom, when they were the best of friends, he'd just come over and laugh. We all be laughing like
oh,
nothing
that's
was,
sweet.
everybody was still together. His new wife probably didn't like that. But anyway, we would still have a good time. So, I
I
have
love it.
wonderful memories of my parents.
Wow. Wow.
Love it. Love it. Anybody
Yeah.
else?
I remember my dad cooking breakfast on Sunday mornings. My father made biscuits like nobody's business, and
Mm.
Hmm.
he was a great cook. I mean, he really was a great cook. He had a great singing voice. He just didn't. If my father had the essentials, that my mom and dad allowed me to have, his life would probably have been different. But he was so funny and congenial and good natured, superstitious and at times, opinionated about things, but just a great guy to be around. And I carry that. I carry that.
Now, can you cook, Tally, like your
I,
dad?
I can. I can.
Okay.
I
All
learned to cook from my father. My mother could burn water. I mean, my mom was not a cook. She would tell you that. My mom was she was utilitarian at best. But my dad, he could the food be so good that if you put it on the top of your head, your tongue would beat your brains out trying to get to it.
right.
That's
Oh,
how good he
mercy.
cooked. So
Uh,
All right. Okay. Any other tips for, for
Pastor
fathers?
yawning like, "Ooh, this is a
Very,
really big show
very,
here."
very photogenic mind.
But no, no. We do want to just once again shout out all of our fathers out
Yep.
there, especially our upset fathers. Where um, we understand your role is very important, and we've all seen the benefits of what positive fatherhood experience can mean for children and even sometimes for ourselves. But
mhm.
we just want to say Happy Father's Day once again
Mhm.
to all
Tosh,
of
can
Exactly.
I
you
do
out
this
there.
real quick shout
Sure,
out because there were
sure.
so many, and when you were saying the men at the church, there were so many men that helped me and my
Mm,
sister with our boys. I mean,
Mhm.
because God gave us boys as single women, and um they helped us so much, and I really want to throw a shout out to them in case they're watching. Just thank you so much, my pastor at the time and other men, because those boys were a handful, and they would listen to them more so than they would us. So I just want to thank them because they helped us for some years, in between there.
Amen. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, guys. Thanks again for another great show
Always.
for honoring our fathers on this special day. And if you want to tell us, have some comments about what we shared, or you want to reflect on your own father, hey, email us at acsda.com, and we'll be checking out the comments. As you probably figured out by now, this is being recorded, so we're not ignoring your comments in the chat. We will.
This
we will
is
check that
Sunday.
with them. Yeah,
Right.
This is Sunday.
Hey, look at the weather. Look at the weather out there. It's Sunday.
But we'll be back again soon. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to share with others. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Happy
everybody.
Father's Day, guys.
Bye.